Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television live from Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. The United States lawmakers seek establishment of trust fund for victims of terror attacks. Police in Imo State avert tragedy near a church as security operatives disable an improvised explosive device. Two communities in Cross River State apprehensive about being ceded to Cameroon. 80 Palestinians arrested as part of efforts to return 3 missing Israeli teenagers. All our top stories can be found on our websites, ChannelsTV.com and on YouTube.com/channelsweb. But do visit m.channelstv.com to view us live on your mobile device. You can also download the Channels TV app for Android, iOS, and Windows phones from their respective stores. You can also interact with the Channels Eyewitness feature on our Android, iOS, and Windows 8 platforms. So if you have pictures or videos to share with us, tap the application on your device, swipe to reveal the Eyewitness menu, and follow the instructions. Speaking of pictures, here are some that you sent in. The first shows a torn Nigerian flag. Our Eyewitness reporter says that this flag is beside the governor's office at Racecourse on Lagos Island. Staying in Lagos is this picture of an accident on Yabaton Road in Ogba, Ikeja. Thankfully, no life was lost. Next is this picture of a traffic gridlock at Eho Junction in Benin City, Edo State. Finally, we're back in Lagos with what looks like a live shark caught offshore around 5-star overpass in Lagos Island. And we sincerely thank you for sending those pictures in, and please keep them coming. Now, the world must unite against discrimination and harassment of migrant workers across the globe. That's the Nigerian message to the 103rd session of the International Labour Conference in Geneva, Switzerland. The Minister of Labour and Productivity, Chief Emeka Wogu, announced that Nigeria is working to address the challenges of labour migration in the country. Our correspondent, Paul Machuku, reports from Geneva.
Over 3,000 representatives of government, employers and workers from 156 countries are attending this year's session of the International Labour Conference in Geneva, Switzerland. The session is focusing on global labour migration, and the Director General of the International Labour Organization wants the delegates to make contributions that will tackle the unacceptable treatment and abuse to which too many migrant workers are exposed worldwide.
We must equally conclude that our existing Fundamental Rights Conventions on Forced Labour, numbers 29 and 105, need to be supplemented to fill in particularly the implementation gaps of prevention, victim protection and compensation.
Over 50 countries presented their position on global migration. Among them is Nigeria's Minister of Labour and Productivity. Nigeria's interest in global migration is informed by the large number of Nigerian youths that are leaving the country in search of the proverbial greener pasture.
Our interest in this subject is informed by the large number of Nigerian youths that are globally mobile. There is no doubt that we have benefited from this phenomenon, especially in diaspora remittances. But we have also experienced the challenges of discrimination, harassment, and other forms of social exclusion in the world of work.
A special session was held on the side of the conference to discuss what African leaders should be discussing at the forthcoming African Heads of State and Heads of Government Extraordinary Summit on Employment, Poverty Eradication, and Inclusive Growth.
If you go and look back, what happened between 2004 and now, I personally believe it was a question of the right kind of follow-up, one. And secondly, what we lacked before was coordination amongst the various inputs that we're all putting towards the agenda.
The ILO report for 2014 estimates that there are 232 million migrant workers in the world. and the organization is hoping that contributions from this year's session will create stronger reforms for its labor convention. From Geneva, Switzerland, Paul Nwachukwu reporting for Channels Television News.
Well, back here in Nigeria, for Willie Obiano, his main vision is for Anambra State to become the first choice investment destination and the most preferred location to site new industries. To achieve this, major interest groups have resolved to set aside political differences and support the governor. During an interactive session at the Governor's Lodge at Amobia, Mr. Obiano asked politicians and captains of industry to place the interests of the state above every other consideration.
The interactive session attracted politicians from different political parties, industrialists, business tycoons, clergymen, traditional rulers, and opinion leaders. Addressing the dignitaries of Anambra origin, Governor Willie Obiano explained to them his administrative blueprint, which rested on 4 pillars: agriculture, oil and gas, trade and commerce, and industrialization.
This is your state, and we need to understand what I'm doing. And I need to take some feedback from yourselves. A very important reason why I call this meeting is to what in Harvard they call a burning trough effect, is to present you a burning trough. What is in our mind is to create a socially stable, business-friendly environment, that will attract both indigenous and foreigners to seek wealth-creating opportunities in Anambra State.
He also said his government has drawn a roadmap to effectively harness the untapped resources in the state and then attract investors, create wealth and employment opportunities, as well as reduce crime and antisocial activities. The guests in the interactive forum aired their views on how the state can move forward.
With security, you are fulfilling this in the socio-economic front. Get us security, and if wine will return from Lagos to Anambra.
We have to pursue the interests of this state beyond the boundaries of politics. Let us genuinely support Governor Obiano.
Nigeria's ambassador to Spain said the meeting was crucial as it will build the bond that will encourage the people to give the governor a total support. They also made a strong point on why every indigene, especially those in the business of creating wealth, should bring their ingenuity to bear in the development of the state.
Most of the people that develop other states outside Anambra State happen to be Anambrarians. So why should they not come to their state to invest? Because if they come to their state to invest, they are providing jobs for people within their environment. They're ensuring that Anambra State remains the light of the nation.
And government cannot be able to provide enough employment opportunities to our people, even economic potentials in terms of direct and indirect provisions. So once government is and have taken investment out of politics.
With this resolve to support the state government as well as take the news to their brothers and sisters in different parts of the country, there's no doubt that a new roadmap has been drawn for a sustainable economic growth of Anambra State.
Well, an ongoing boundary demarcation exercise by the UN Mixed Commission has left the Danare and Biajua communities in Boki local government area of Cross River State ill at ease. Their people's ancestral land, where they've resided for over 800 years, runs the risk of being ceded to neighboring Cameroon following a boundary demarcation adjustment. Our community report tonight focuses on the two communities seeking to bring the attention of the international community to their plight.
Now you're talking.
A town crier summons the people of the twin communities of Biajua and Danare a sure sign that something is amiss. The thick forests, which for 800 years have been the people's pride, home and source of livelihood, are under threat. Indeed, it's not only the endowment of nature they stand to lose, but their very homes. The two Syrian communities in Boki local government area are among the several that share boundaries with neighboring Cameroon, and a recent visit by the UN Mixed Committee on Boundary Adjustment to carry out a demarcation exercise has ominous undertones.
The soldiers came, army soldiers, with their leader, who later said he is at Afis Barak. Their leader was having 2 stars. Their name tags were removed, and we could not take their names down. So we later discovered that they came here illegally. And that very forest is our life. It's our life, and we are ready to die for it.
We even have a sneaking feeling that the accusation that Gowon ceded Bakassi in order to win the war, the Jonathan government wants to cede this part of Nigeria in order to win the war against Boko Haram.
The people are, however, not taking this lying down. Led by the women of the community who are held in very high esteem, they march in protest through the streets of the villages. They are not prepared to cede 1 inch of their ancestral land.
We are singing that our land is not for sale. Yes. We cannot miss our land. This land belongs to us, and we are going to use land for our future. Yes. Yes. So they cannot take away this land and leave our children to suffer in future. Yes.
That demarcation must stop. They have a map. They should use their own map. We are not asking them to draw a new map. The map they use, the demarcation lines, the Anglo-German agreement of 1913, which was vitiated by the Basel Treaty of 1918. It was annulled when Woodrow Wilson announced in Basel, in France, that all foreign territories should be situated between Britain and France. And that's why we have Western Cameroon and now in France as a French territory and Eastern Nigeria as British territory. How are we now to come to become victims of an agreement that was faulted and vitiated?
As far as the elders and people of Danare and Biajua are concerned, there's enough cause for alarm. The rather recent case of Bakassi is all too clear, and its consequences are still reverberating.
The issue of Bakassi should not be repeated here. Our land is our land. We were put here. Our existence here was never an accident of history. But before the foundation of the world, we have been here. We are here by God. We have remained here over 800 years. So we are living here in peace. We do not crumble.
Enough is enough of this intimidation. Otherwise, we are ready and prepared to tomorrow. What happened in OD is what the federal government should be ready to do in Biafra if they must plan that pillar. What happened in Zakibiam is what the government should be ready to do if they must plan pillar 113A forcefully. Otherwise, they should refer us to a referendum where we decide where we belong, either to belong to Nigeria or to go to the Republic of Cameroon.
For the Cross River State government, the UN Mixed Commission ought to adopt a more responsible approach to this issue of boundary adjustment.
The natural boundary line between Nigeria and Cameroon is that water. You understand? So if the demarcation exercise is now beginning to pinpoint coordinate points within the Nigerian territory across the river as part of Cameroon territory, I think it's complete confusion.
Following the ongoing exercise, over 20 villages in Cross River State, including part of the famous Obudu Cattle Ranch Resort, are under threat of being ceded to Cameroon. That is, if the Nigerian authorities fold their arms this time around. Charles Aruka for Channels Television News.
Now.
And when the news at 10 returns, the federal government gives assurances on the power reforms. Please join us again.